President Biden and fellow Democrats may be on the cusp of some significant wins in Congress. The administration has been pushing Congress to pass legislation on semiconductor manufacturing and health care. Democrats and the White House are pushing for major political victories ahead of the November midterms. Nancy Cordes is at the White House now with more on this. Nancy, good morning. You know, the president has been urging the passage of the CHIPS Act, and it jumped a major hurdle yesterday when the Senate advanced the bill. How long does the administration think it will be before Americans could actually see the benefits of this if it passes?
Well, yes, you're right, Drika. It got bipartisan support yesterday, which puts it on track for a final vote on Friday. And the administration really sees some short-term and long-term benefits from this bill, which provides about $54 billion worth of incentives to U.S. manufacturing to produce more semiconductors, more computer chips. Short-term advantage is that we start to dig out of this hole that was caused by COVID. There's a global computer chip shortage, and the hope is that this could help to eat away at that. You know, it's been so difficult to produce everything from cars to refrigerators without these computer chips. In the long term, it would help make the U.S. more competitive with China. The U.S. used to produce about 40% of the world's computer chips. That's now down to 12%. China has invested for years in its sector of the economy building these chips. The U.S. has not. And so the hope is that this will make the U.S. more competitive with China once again.
Speaking of China, Nancy, the president is set to speak with China's President Xi Jinping this week, and tensions are obviously growing over China's claims on Taiwan. What more do we know about the discussion that may take place there?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if that issue of Taiwan comes up as House Speaker Nancy Pelosi considers a trip to Taiwan, but also on the agenda, Ukraine, discussing the situation in Ukraine. And also the White House says discussing responsibility in U.S.-China competition. You know, President Biden has been considering lifting some tariffs that were put in place by President Trump on Chinese goods. He hasn't made a decision yet. We don't expect that a decision will be announced before tomorrow's call or during the call. But that is something that has been up for discussion and will likely come up in this conversation, the fifth phone conversation between these two leaders since President Biden took office. They have a long-time relationship, but because of COVID, they have not yet been able to meet in person. And
I feel like with every answer, you're easily helping me transition to the next question. Speaking of COVID, you know, yesterday the president was still isolating, but will he take that COVID test again today? And do we know when he may be cleared to stop isolating?
So today is technically day 5 of isolation. So tomorrow, if he tests negative, it would be the first time that he could actually leave isolation. So we don't know. What we do know is that his doctor released yet another letter yesterday saying that all of his symptoms have more or less resolved. He said actually the president is feeling well enough to resume physical activity, so that's a good sign. And he has wrapped up that 5-day course of Paxlovid. So now we're just watching to see whether the president does test negative tomorrow, is able to leave isolation. The White House rules say that you can't leave isolation even after day 5 until you test negative. We also know that according to people who are close to him, the president has been feeling a little stir crazy. So everyone here at the White House is hoping for his sake that he does test negative tomorrow.
Absolutely. And he's got plenty of work ahead. Nancy Cordes at the White House, thank you.
You're welcome.